Great. So this morning, we're using the theme of truth. And truth is one of the basic tenets of yoga, sitting on top of nonviolence, which is sort of the baseline that we want to go from. And when we speak our truth, we should speak it in a way that is kind, compassionate, empathetic to the listener. Right? If we come at someone, even though something may be our truth, it may not necessarily be the truth. And so when we communicate that truth, we need to do it in a way that's palatable, that's hearable by others. But before we can express our truth and put it out into the world, we really need to know our truth. And that can often be the most challenging thing. We've been overlaid with, all kinds of shoulds from the time that we were born, of how we should be, what we should think, how we should dress, act, be in the world, that we kind of easily lose touch with ourselves and what we want and what we believe and what we feel. And using the light of discernment through the practice of yoga, which is basically mindfulness of bringing our attention to what's going on within ourselves in each moment, can really help us to tune into what's real and what's true for us. Right? And when we start to understand what's real and true for us, then we can start to layer on that nonviolence as we put it out into the world. Right? Ahimsa is nonviolence. When we look at ourselves and we want to kind of discern our own truth, we should really look with the discernment of a knife's edge. Right? Really look at ourselves and cut through our own crap. Right? It's really easy to tell ourselves a little story about what we would like to be true, right? What we prefer to be our truth. However, when we really dig down and go below that, often there's a deeper layer of truth that we can access. So today we're going to work with the warrior series, various warrior poses, which are strong, standing poses. And the idea is that when we come to know our truth, when we tune into our truth, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. So we've, some of us, I can't speak for everybody, but I know this is true for me. Sometimes I've kind of layered on top of my truth what I wish were true or what I hope is true. And when I really cut through the crap, I realized, yeah, I'm kind of fooling myself. So this can be challenging. To really face ourselves can be challenging. So if you need to take a break, turn off the video, come back to it, whatever. But working with those strong poses to try to tune into our own strength and resilience to be able to move through life more honestly, more truthfully with ourselves. That's the main thing, getting to know ourselves. So we're going to start lying down as we often do. So you can get yourselves comfortable on your mat, and I'll see you over there. So as you come to lie down, you're also welcome to sit if you would prefer, at least for the very first part, before we get moving. So find yourself in a comfortable position. And really today, our biggest aim is to tune into what's true and real from moment to moment, what you experience. And that kind of truth is not a truth that anyone can argue with. For instance, if you're lying down now and you feel, oh, my neck is a little stiff from maybe having slept funny last night or just in general, you might tune into that awareness as your truth in this moment. So someone looking at you couldn't argue with you and say, that's not true. Your neck is not, uncomfortable right now, but for yourself, you know that this is true in this moment. So we'll try to stick with what's true for you, not opinions, not judgments, not thoughts or feelings, but what do you actually feel in your body? What's actually going on right now? And I encourage you, if you notice areas that feel uncomfortable, like my example with the neck, to notice that but not dwell there. So you might notice areas of your body that are less comfortable When you notice those areas, or maybe there's pain somewhere, try to also bring your attention to somewhere that does feel good, that is comfortable. And that might simply be the absence of pain, a neutral place. So as you tune into your body now, really noticing what is true, what is present, without judgment, without trying to change anything. Can you simply rest in that awareness? Tune into your breath. Notice the rhythm and the movement of your breath. If the breath feels challenging this morning, I know there's a lot of colds going around right now, so there may be some challenge with your breath. Maybe your breath feels short today. Maybe it feels long and relaxed. So whatever you discover, it's not about judging or bringing thought into the process, but simply tuning into what is true for you right now. What do you notice? There's no need to fix or change anything. And then check in with your mind. What sorts of thoughts are passing through your mind right now? And can you simply observe those thoughts without judging, without even following them? Just noticing, oh, there's a little thought bubble. There's another little thought bubble. And let them pass through, float away, while the observer part of you simply notices. And then see if you can determine, is there a mood or emotion present? Emotion, not emotion. Emotion or mood present. Notice how you're feeling this morning emotionally. Can you identify any particular emotion or any feeling floating around in you this morning? And there may be something that you've come to the class with that's kind of sticky, or it may be simply tuning in at a deeper level. How do I actually feel today? And again, really try to leave behind any judgment, any need to change or fix anything, and simply notice what's happening in each moment as it is. So we'll do some warm-ups for the joints, the main joint, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, before we get to the standing poses, which we'll ask those joints to be strong and flexible this morning. So if you are sitting, you can come to lie down. And if you're already lying down, then you're good to go. So you can bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor, and that will generally give the lower back a little bit more support. And to start warming up with the neck, let's take the arms out to the sides. They could be shoulder height, a little lower if your shoulders feel tight, a little higher if you want a bit more feeling of stretch in the shoulders, but really taking it to an easy place, not a really stretch, challenging place for the shoulders. And then you can slowly roll your head from side to side in that space. So gently rolling the head side to side, and notice what is true for you right now. How does your neck feel? So maybe you can relate to my example earlier of a stiff neck from sleeping funny. Maybe your neck feels more stiff on one side than the other. So tune in and notice what's present. And then gradually bring your head back to center and slide your arms back down to your sides. Let the palms come to rest toward the floor. And from here, we'll lift the arms straight up through the air, bringing the backs of the hands toward the floor. You can bend your elbows if that's more comfortable, and then bring the arms back down. If your hands don't come to the floor behind you, that's fine. Your shoulders will tell you where is far enough, and listen to that truth, that reality, if that's what's coming up for you, that there's some restriction there. After a few times, start to alternate bringing the knees in. So as the arms come down, one knee comes into the chest, give it a little squeeze with your hands. That foot comes down, the arms reach up. You can inhale in that movement, exhale to bring the other knee in. Continue like that a few more times. So your foot goes down as the arms go up, knee comes in, hands come to the knee. And take your time and notice what's present. So now we're moving the hips and the shoulders. Notice what you feel in those joints. There's no need to judge. Simply tuning in what is present, what is true for me right now. Continue with one or two more of the same movement. And then eventually you'll end up with the right knee in toward your chest. And once you get there, you can stay there for a few breaths. So you can hold on either over the shin or if you prefer behind the thigh, and that's a good option if there's any issues with your knee and flexion of the knee. So holding over the shin can put more pressure on the knee. So find a comfortable position and notice, what do you feel in your hip? Notice the front of the hip where the thigh and pelvis meet. Notice the back of the hip around the sacroiliac joint in the right side of the hip, and anything else that's present here. What is your reality? What do you feel? What do you notice? Try to leave out judgment. Right? For instance, you might feel, oh, my hip feels tight, and here's the reason why I think that is. Let go of the reason why. Just notice. And then we'll start to add some movement, flexion and extension of the knee joint. So you can stretch the leg up toward the ceiling and bend the knee back in toward your chest. So we're working with the knee joint here, but you're also going to feel some stretch in the hamstrings at the back of the leg, as well as contraction of the quadriceps in the front of the leg to create that straightening. So a few more like that, lifting and then bending the knee. And then you can leave the leg up in the air. If you find that it's a strain to hold on here, let go with your hands and circle your ankle. So now the third joint of the leg we're working with. We worked with the hip, then the knee, now the ankle. So circling the ankle joint one way and the other, and notice what's present. Where do you feel that movement? What do you notice? Right, then you can relax the foot completely, give the leg a little shake, and then bring that knee back in toward the chest. Let's do one more movement here where we stretch the left leg straight out. That's optional. If that feels like too much stretch, keep the knee bent. We'll do a little movement with the right hip. So you can move the knee to one side and then the other, maybe circle around. If you want to make a bigger circle, you can let the hand slide away from the knee. Circle one way and then the other. So a little more movement in that. It gets lubricated is through movement. So if we spend a few days as a couch potato, we're going to feel stiffer as a result, even one day as a potato. Some days we need those days, right? Let's bring that foot to the floor, and then you can stretch that leg out, or if it's more comfortable, you can rest for a moment with both knees bent. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, let go. And feel the maybe difference or whatever sensations are present in the right hip versus the left hip, if there's any difference. And then if your legs are straight, bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor, and we'll extend the arms overhead again. Taking a breath in. As you exhale, bring the left knee into your chest, over the shin or behind the thigh. And again, feeling what's going on in that hip joint, maybe in the knee as well. As you hold this position, you might choose to take the hands behind the thigh to take some of the pressure off the knee. And being aware what is happening in that left hip. What do you notice? What do you feel? There's no need to judge or change or analyze anything here. When you're ready, you can start to extend that leg, reaching toward the ceiling, and flex at the knee joint to bring the knee back in. And repeat this a few times, extending and coming back in. You can breathe in as you lift the leg, breathe out as you bring the knee in, or just breathe and move freely. At some point, you can leave the leg up in the air. Either keep holding on or let go with the hands as you circle the ankle around. If it's not, hold the leg here. You can always circle the ankle with a bent knee. If the hamstrings are quite tight, it's more work to hold the leg up in the air and more effort. One way and then the other. Right, and then relax your foot. Give that leg a shake. Bend the knee, bring it back into your chest. And then again, you have the option to extend the right leg. You can either take that leg straight on the ground or you can keep the knee bent, whatever works better for you. Either way, we're going to get a little more into that left hip joint by moving the leg a little to the side, circling around, maybe to the center, maybe across the center line a little bit. Maybe a bigger circle by letting the hands slide away from the knee as the knee goes away from the body. So take your time, explore the range of motion on this side. Check in with what you actually feel, what's going on in your hip, what's going on in your body without judgment. Being that observer without judgment, without even needing to change anything. Right. When you feel ready, you can go back to the floor. You might lift the hips up and bring them back to what feels like center. And then extend the arms overhead with a breath in. As you exhale, draw your belly button towards the spine and the spine toward the ground and bring both knees into the chest. Both hands coming to your knees, one hand to each knee. You can move the knees away with a breath in and towards you as you exhale. We'll do one more here, taking the feet back to the floor. Let the arms come out to the sides. Squeeze the knees and the ankles together. Feel your legs, especially your inner thighs, working a little bit. And then let the soles of the feet come together. Let the knees come apart. So breathing in as the knees come apart. You can exhale as the knees come together. Squeeze and press into the feet. Feel your lower back lengthen and flatten. And then inhale, knees apart. Continue that movement, going at your own pace. You can continue to move a few more times, or if it feels good to you to stay for a few breaths, you could let the knees come apart and stay for a few breaths. If you have blocks or cushions, you can support your knees if that's necessary for you, or always just bring the knees back together at any point and keep moving. Take a few more breaths here. Right, and then as you bring the knees back together, you can stay there with the arms to the sides. And we'll move into a twist. If you want a very gentle twist, just move one knee toward the ground on each side, the knee that's closest to the ground already. So you can move that knee to the ground and then back to the center. And if you want a little bit more twist, you can take both knees toward the ground on one side and then both knees to center. And if you want to coordinate your breathing, exhale to the side and inhale as you come back to center. And tune into what you notice, what you feel. So when we really start to pay attention to what's going on in our bodies without judging or trying to change anything, we start to access our own truth moment to moment. And when we can access our own truth without fooling ourselves, we have a much easier time communicating that truth and being heard. Good. Next time you come down to one side, doesn't matter which side, you can roll right onto that side. Use your opposite hand to guide you back upright. So from this upright position, we're going to move straight over to all fours. If you appreciate an extra bit of padding under your knees, you can use your blanket to pad. And when we come to all fours, let's start with either the cat-cow movement or all fours to child's pose. So arching as you inhale, rounding and maybe adding child's pose on your exhale. So I want to bring the spine back to neutral after the twist and also get some movement throughout the length of the spine after we've been lying down for about 15 minutes or so. Check in with your wrists if you need any extra support for your wrists, or if you need a little bit of a break, you can always come down to your forearms and do a little movement, send the hands back and forth or circle the wrists around. So the next movement that we'll do requires a little bit more of the wrists and the knees because we'll be balancing on one wrist and one knee at a time. So for this next one, you're going to extend opposite arm and leg. Don't try the same side unless you're really feeling like you've got a lot of balance this morning. And then you'll bring them in and either round or round and go to child's pose. So the pattern is as you start to inhale, extending opposite arm and leg, no higher than parallel to the ground, and then exhale, either rounding to cat or to child's pose. Alternate sides, so right hand, left leg, and then left hand, right leg. Continue a couple more at your own pace. If you remember which side you started with, you might end with the opposite side, so you've done an even number. And if you like, you can rest in child's pose for a few breaths. If you're feeling a little more energetic today, you might come into downward dog for a little bit more stretch for the legs and the shoulders, a little bit more work here. It's up to you. So check in with your own reality, your own truth. What would feel best for you, right? And sometimes we fool ourselves. We go, oh, staying on the couch would be best for me, or staying in child's pose would be best for me. But really listen to the body. Does the body want to move? Does the body need to be still? And honor what you discover. And sometimes we don't know when we're fooling ourselves until after the fact, right? So sometimes it's a bit of trial and error, and that's where the nonviolence or the kindness and the compassion come in, right? When we realize, oh, that wasn't really my truth. Can we discover that with kindness, with empathy, with compassion? We're going to make our way to standing. So if you're in downward dog and you want to step your feet forward to your hands, you can do that. If you're on all fours and you want to first come to a squat and then lift up, you can do that. Or from all fours, you could step one foot forward and then the other. Really doesn't matter. How you get upright is taking your time to come to a standing position. I'm going to try and stay out of the light a little bit so you can see me rather than the sort of silhouette of me. So as you come upright, you can take your feet a little bit apart and let the hands come to the hips. Soften your knees, and we'll do a few movements to circle the hips around here. Circle one way and then circle the other way. Right, and then make your way back to center. Release the arms. You can leave the feet a little wider or bring them in a little bit, but keep the knees soft. And we'll rotate the shoulders, one shoulder and then the other. Again, try to stay tuned into what you notice. Letting go of judgment, letting go of the need to change anything. What is present? What do you notice right now? Right, and then let's come back to the center. You can bring the feet in so that they're right under the hips in mountain pose. And bring the palms together in front of your heart. Take a breath in and reach up. Exhale, big circle. Let your hands come behind your back, interlace your fingers, and reach the arms down without squeezing the shoulders back. Let the heart lift. And then from there, release the hands. You can slide down either to the knees or shins or ankles or floor. And then inhale and come all the way up. Reaching the palms together overhead and bringing the hands in front of the heart. Again, inhale, lift up. Exhale, big circle. Arms come behind the back, interlace the fingers. Reach the arms down, let the heart lift. And then as you exhale, slide the hands down, coming forward. Try to let your head release. Take a breath or two here. If you want, you can let the elbows rest on the thighs or let the arms hang down. Try to keep soft knees, long spine. When you're ready, come up with a breath in, reaching the arms overhead, and exhale, hands come down and release. So we're going to come into Warrior One now. So in Warrior One, we're going to start by stepping forward with the left foot. And the amount that you step forward is really up to you. So the further apart your feet are front to back, the more challenging the pose is. And as we go into our next version, that will become even more obvious. So your right foot is going to turn out so your toes point to the right. Left foot is pointing straight forward. And then the left knee bends over the ankle. So simple warrior here. The hips are more or less pointing forward as long as that's okay on the, especially back hip and ankle. You might need to adjust the position of your back foot to be comfortable. So as we come into the pose, the front knee bends over the ankle, the heart lifts as the arms lift. As you come out of the pose, it's simply straightening the leg and bringing the arms down. So inhale, Warrior One. Exhale back to your starting position. A couple more like that. And then we can add a forward bend. So as you exhale, keep your knee bent and bring your hands onto your front knee. Inhale, lift up. And the option here, if you want to go further, the hands can come maybe to the shin or to blocks if you have them, or to the floor. Trying to keep that front leg bent now as we come forward, especially if you're bringing your hands to your knee or shin. You don't want to push back and hyperextend that knee. Okay, next time you come forward, bring your hands to your knee. Even if you can go further, take your hands to the knee and pause here for a few breaths. Press into your back foot, and if you want a little more stretch in your back calf, you might step that foot back a little further and press into that back heel. All right, when you're ready, lift back up to warrior one. Exhale, straighten the front leg, and then we're going to step the feet back together. And you can give a little shake. So we'll work with warrior on the other side. You might notice you're a bit lopsided now, probably. We'll take the right foot forward, left foot turns out, and again, you get to decide how far apart your feet are front to back to get the experience that works best for you today. So closer together, a little easier, further back, a little more challenging. So that front knee is bending over the ankle as you inhale and lift into warrior one. And then exhaling, the knee straightens, but try not to lock it straight. Keep your thigh engaged. Inhale, coming into warrior. Exhale, coming back. And continue a couple more at your own pace. And pause for a couple of breaths in warrior. Feel the strength of the pose. We'll bring the hands to the front knee or shin or towards the floor or blocks if you have them. And we'll do a few times like that, coming up as you inhale, coming forward as you exhale. Again, you can stay a couple of breaths in the forward position. And if you bring the hands onto the knee, you might experiment with where that back foot is to get a stretch a little more, maybe in the back calf, if that's necessary for you. Maybe you've got all the stretch you need right now, in which case you can just stay there. When you're ready, you'll come up into warrior one. Exhale, arms down. You can move the front leg straighter again, and then stepping back to mountain pose. Good. For mountain pose, let's take a breath in, raise the arms up overhead, find a little bit of a back bend. Good. Exhale, bring the arms down. You can slide them down the thighs towards the ankles or wherever is comfortable. Inhale, come up. So do a few forward bends like that, bringing the hips and the spine back to equilibrium. Checking in with the back and the hips. Great, and then this time coming up and we'll stay upright. So we're going to come into warrior one again and transition from warrior one into warrior three, which is a balancing pose. So before we go there, let's just check in with how our balance is today. So if you shift your weight onto one foot and come onto the toes of the other foot, maybe lift that knee up. And then stretch the leg back and bring the foot down. And then to the other side, shift your weight, bring the knee up. If you need to hold the wall, that's fine. Stretch the leg back and bring it down. Bend and straighten your knees a couple of times, releasing any tension. You can also let the arms wiggle a bit. Great. So as we come from warrior one to warrior three, it becomes even more pertinent the amount of space you have front to back between your feet. So if you want to challenge yourself, and it's a great challenge, step your feet wide apart. Right? I'll show you the difference. So if you go from warrior one with a short stance, we're going to come into an easy version of warrior three, just stepping onto the front foot, lifting the back leg. So pretty easy if your feet are close together. When the feet are further apart, you have to kind of swing into the pose, and it's much easier to lose your balance. So let's give that a try, and we'll see how it goes. And you can play around with how far apart your feet are. So we're going to start with the left foot forward. and the right foot is behind you any amount. So I'm going to start with a kind of medium stance, not too wide, not too short. Bending the front knee. And let's come first into warrior one. Shoulders down. Think about your left hip moving back a little, right hip moving forward, so you're squaring the hips. You can let the arms come down to your sides and allow that to help you with balance. Slowly step onto your front foot. You're going to lift the back heel. Take as much time as you need to. If you want to keep your toes on the ground behind you, that's fine. Think about lifting the chest. If you want, the arms can come even down more. Maybe lift the toes off the ground behind you. Try to do that with a straight leg. You're not bending the leg to lift the toes, but you're extending right from the hip and lifting, and then lifting the heart. And if you lose your balance, just let your foot come down and try again. Good. Step back, breathing in. Exhale to release the arms. And then step your feet back together. You can give a little shake if you like. And we'll move to the other side. So right foot is forward and left foot is back. Whatever amount feels appropriate to you, you can always adjust that if you try the pose and it doesn't work for you. Taking a breath in, coming into warrior one. Feel the shoulders relax, grounded through both feet. We'll let the arms come down to the sides. Step onto your front foot. Take as much time as you need to lift up onto the toes of the back foot. Maybe lift the chest, or sorry, maybe lift the leg as you lift the chest. And breathe. Your standing leg can be slightly bent. You don't want it locked, absolutely. Good. Step back, warrior one. Good. Exhale, straighten your front leg. Bring the arms down and step back. Good. Any little movement here. So you want to give a little shake. And we're going to do warrior three one more time. Warrior three, one more time. And this time you have the option to do it exactly as we just did, or if you like, once you lift the back leg, you could start to take the upper body forward as the leg lifts. You still want to keep that sense of a lift in the chest and a little bit of a, almost a concave curve through the back of your body. So we'll start with the left foot forward again. Again, if you want to work harder, take your feet wider apart. You'll find it's a little more challenging to get into the balance of the pose. Coming into warrior one. Feel both feet solidly planted, shoulders relaxed. Step onto your front foot. Let the arms come to your sides. Take all the time you need to feel balanced on that left foot. And then maybe lift the back leg just off the ground. And if you're feeling a little more confident, you can start to take the body forward as you lift the back leg. Try to square the hip so your right hip is level with your left. And when you're ready to come out, step back into warrior one. And then release. Step your feet back together. And we'll try the same thing on the other side. So right foot is forward. Inhale, lifting the arms, coming into warrior one so that front knee bends. Take the arms out to the sides, maybe a little lower than your shoulders, especially if there's tightness in your shoulders. Step onto your front foot. Maybe lift the back toes, and then maybe let the body come forward over the leg. Try to square the hips if you can. It's a lot of work for the standing leg. You can come out anytime you're ready by stepping back to warrior one. And then from there, releasing the pose and stepping the feet together. So making your way back to Tadasana or mountain pose. We'll do a little bit of counter pose work after warrior one before our next pose. So we'll take a breath in, coming up. Good. Exhale, bend your knees a little and come forward. Let the hands slide down any amount. And inhale, come back up. Do this a few times. Go at your own pace. Inhaling to lift, exhaling into your forward bend. Any amount. Check in with what feels true and real for you right now. What do you notice? If you want to stay in that forward bend for a few breaths, go ahead and let your body stay. Enjoy. If you want to keep moving, then keep moving. A couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, come all the way upright. And let the arms float down to your sides. So we're going to add a little bit of a side bend now, getting ready for Warrior Two and some of the variations in Warrior Two. So feet about hip width apart. They could be slightly further apart, maybe shoulder width if you like. So you have good stability and soft knees. So we'll take the arms up, take a breath in. Good. As you exhale, release one hand to the side and reach up and over with the other arm. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, releasing to the other side. So it's not about how far you go to the side, but really lengthening both sides of the torso. Exhale, I'm reaching up with the arm that's up in the air, but not collapsing on the other side. Coming up, reaching up and over. Get a couple more, going at your own pace. Great, and then end up with both arms up, big breath in, and exhale to release the arms down. So we'll move into Warrior Two now, which is a little bit different from Warrior One and Three in that instead of stepping 1 foot forward, we step the feet to the sides. So we're going to take the feet wider than the shoulders. Again, the further apart you take your feet in general, the more challenging this pose becomes. Let's take the left foot and turn it straight out to the left. So your toes are pointing to the end of your mat or straight to the left. And then your right foot maybe turn a little bit in the same direction. Your hips may want to turn with your legs, and that's okay. They can turn a little bit. As you bend your left knee, you want to look down and make sure your knee is tracking straight in line with your toes. So if I think we've done this before in this class, but if I show you from this angle, there's a tendency for the knee to turn in. So you want the knee, my toes, I don't know if you can see them, but knee and toes in the same line. If the hips turn a little bit to keep the knee in line, that's fine. If you turn the hips away too much, the knee starts to go, right? So it's the knee that we really want to honor here. So knee is bent over the ankle and the other foot, whatever angle works for you. And then extending the arms to the sides, and if possible, arms parallel to the ground, shoulders down and back. So the bottom edges of your shoulder blades moving in a little bit. Feel the strength of Warrior Two. In fact, if you hold Warrior Two for 10 or 15 seconds, it's not such a challenging pose. If you hold it for a couple of minutes, it becomes quite challenging. And again, the more you take your feet apart, so you can try this if you like, the harder the pose becomes, because to get the knee over the ankle, you have to bend down further, right? So the legs are working harder. You decide what is right for you today. So we're going to move from here, take the hand, left hand or left forearm to the thigh, reach the other arm up, and then take the right hand to the right leg, turn the left palm up, reach up and back. So it's, again, lengthening both sides of the torso. Not so important how far you go to the side, but that you're making that journey with lots of intention. Don't worry about how you're breathing as long as you're breathing. Finding your way into the side bend each way. Your legs might start to feel like they're doing a bit of work. Good. If you like, you can keep the left hand on the thigh or Come down onto the forearm. This arm can be up in the air, or your right arm can be behind your back. If you want a little more stretch, turn the palm up to the ceiling by the hip and slowly take it straight overhead. My palm, you can't probably see it because of the light, but it's facing the ground overhead. And I'm trying to find a straight line from my right foot to my right fingertips. And let's come all the way up. You can straighten the front leg now. Turn your feet parallel, lower the arms, and step your feet back together. And take a couple of breaths here in Tadasana, the mountain pose. Maybe feel what's going on in your body. Notice one side to the other side if there's any difference. And then we'll work with Warrior Two and the side bending movement on the other side. So again, feet apart. You judge how far. The further it is, the more you're going to work. Now your right foot is turning all the way to the right. Left foot can turn in slightly. You know, it really depends on how your ankle feels here. You can play that left foot by ear, and then bending the right knee and checking that it's tracking straight over your ankle. So look down, you want to see your big toe on the inside of your knee. So that might mean, again, the hips have to turn a little bit. That's okay. As much as possible, keeping the hips pointing straight forward without compromising that knee. And then arms to the sides. You want to try to find the arms parallel to the ground. Reach from fingertips to fingertips. Feel your upper body nice and long, perpendicular to the floor, so you're not leaning one way or the other to begin with. And then we'll start to add that side bend movement. So you can bring the right hand to the knee or forearm to the thigh as you come down to the right, and then left hand to the thigh as you reach up and over toward the left. The legs stay in the same position, moving one way and then the other. And how far your arms come up, you know, is really going to be determined by how your shoulders feel. For some, it may be just arm a little bit. For others, arm way up over the head. What is your truth? What is your reality? Can you honor that? Great, and then next time you come into that side bend with the right hand on your knee or forearm on the thigh, you might stay for a few breaths. Again, the left arm can be up in the air. You can turn the palm away from you behind your back, or if you like, turn the palm up by the hip and take the arm straight up overhead so the palm ends up facing the ground overhead. And then you're looking for that long line from your left foot to your left fingertips. Try not to collapse into the arm on your leg. Keep strong. But when you're ready, come back up. Warrior Two. Straighten your front leg. Turn your feet parallel to one another and lower the arms. Keep a little bend in your knees. If you want to bring your feet together, if that would be more comfortable, go for it. Otherwise, keep the legs wide. We're coming into a forward bend, lifting the arms with a breath in. Exhale, hands or elbows to thighs or reaching down for the ground. And let's repeat that a few times. So you'll come up with a breath in. Come forward any amount that suits you as you exhale. Continue at your own pace. And then again, if you want to stay in that forward bend for a few breaths, you can go ahead and stay. Could be elbows or hands on thighs, hands on the ground or on blocks if you have them, or even a chair if that's handy. And whenever you're ready, you'll lift up with a breath in and exhale to release the arms. If your feet are wide, you can bring the legs in together. Come into Tadasana, mountain pose, for a moment. And simply notice your body here. Notice what's present after about 45 minutes or so of movement. We've really worked with the joints of the lower legs, the shoulders, the forward bend, back bend, side bend. So notice what's present now. What are you aware of? We're going to start to make our way to the ground and do a couple of poses there to wind down before we take a little bit of a rest at the end. So you can find your way onto your mat. And you're going to come right to lie down. Let your hands come down alongside your body and have your knees bent, feet on the floor. And we'll do a few times the bridge pose. So opening the front of the body and massaging the back along the ground. So you can press into your feet. Take your arms and extend them overhead as you lift your hips up. And then exhale and roll down. So inhaling, lifting up. And exhaling, lowering down. Do a couple more times like that. Okay, and then when you're ready, come on down. And we'll bring both knees into the chest. And this time stretching the legs toward the ceiling. The hands can stay on the legs or reach overhead or out to the sides. And then knees back to your chest, hands to your knees. Squeezing in at the end of your exhale and expanding or extending out on your inhale. And then hugging the knees in, maybe a little side to side rocking or circling the knees or whatever would feel good. Checking in with what your body needs right now. And then if there's any other movement that you'd like to do before you rest for a moment, you can take a moment to do that. And then in your own time, just preparing for a bit of relaxation. So you can get yourselves comfortable. Maybe cover up with a blanket or whatever you need to do to be comfortable and cozy here. Two more days, it's officially spring, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the weather changes instantly. So making sure you're warm enough, be in whatever position is comfortable for you, and then start to allow your body again to be supported as fully as possible by the ground. Take a few breaths where you focus your attention on your exhalation. And see if you can tune into a feeling of softening and letting go with each exhale. Letting go of whatever tension you may be carrying in your body, whatever effort is left over from the practice. Tuning in, softening, letting go. With each exhale, tune in and check into where you might still be holding a bit of tension. And as you exhale, consciously letting that go wherever possible. It may come back with your next inhale, and then you let it go again with your next inhale. With your next exhale. Inhale, notice. Exhale, let go. Feel the weight of your head on the ground, a softening around the muscles of your face. Let your shoulders sink back and your arms be relaxed. When your hands are relaxed, the fingers are naturally curled. Let the hands soften even more. The chest softening, the lower back releasing, and the weight of your pelvis dropping down as the belly softens even more. Relax your thighs, your knees, your calves. Soften your ankles and your feet. And then tune into what is true and real for you right now without judgment, without trying to change anything. And know that it's through the truth that we find our personal freedom. By really knowing and honoring our truth, we become much more free. But it's a challenging process that takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength. The chant today honors our truth and our courage and strength, letting us know that the truth leads us from the darkness to the light, from what's unreal to what's real. And ultimately, we gain control of our lives through that truthfulness. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. You're welcome to spend a little bit more time in Shavasana if you like. And if you're ready to get on with your day, you might roll over onto one side and eventually make your way to sitting. And if you're ready to finish the class with me, bring your hands together. Namaste. I encourage you to stay with this theme today or for the week and really tune into what's true for you. You don't have to express that or share that with anyone, but start to really tune into your own reality, your own truth. And have a beautiful day.